and welcome to Ask Me About Kpop, the essential guide for recent converts and seasoned fans alike. My name is Shannon.
And I'm Angelica.
And welcome to another deep dive episode. We haven't done one of these in a minute.
It has been a while.
It has been a minute, but we're celebrating an anniversary today.
Yes.
It's always fun to do these. And today we are talking about 25 years of Baby V.O.X.
Yes. And we usually start our deep dives by talking a little bit about what our personal context was for the group. So what did you already what was in your mind for Baby V.O.X. before we started this?
I feel like everything that I knew about Baby V.O.X. I knew from our own episode research.
Mm-hmm.
I think the first time I even became aware of their existence was when we did our first gen deep dive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so many years
and we
ago.
got them in the random game once, and then our episodes about 2000, 2001, 2002, they've
come up.
been part of it. But yeah, I don't think I had much context for their overall impact or whatever. I just knew they were a first gen girl group.
Yeah. And I feel like that's me too. I definitely didn't know about them before we started researching the first gen. And I feel like even when we did do that research, I knew so much less about them than a group like SES or Finkel, because I would say I think it's pretty fair to say they would have been the third in
Yes.
the top three or whatever. But in researching them and then learning about how they have in every single article, anything I could find, they are very well cemented as being integral into pushing Hallyu outside of Korea. And so I just think it's interesting that I don't know, they are at this point, I think, very unknown by new K-pop fans or anything like that. They're really not in the people don't really talk about them anymore. People still do a lot of SES Finkel covers and they still come up, and I feel like Baby V.O.X. doesn't come up as often, which is interesting. And maybe we can posit as to why that is, that they have a less long-lasting impact on newer groups today. At least that's the way it seems. But I always laugh whenever I hear the name Baby V.O.X. because I think, and this must just be because of the V and the X and the baby, I don't know. But I always think of baby metal.
Okay. Yeah.
So in my head, whenever I hear Baby V.O.X., my first thought is Hot Topic schoolgirls.
Right.
And I know that that's not their vibe. It never was.
Right.
And it never has been. But that's my personal image that still to this day, even after doing all this research, I hear Baby V.O.X. and I picture baby metal.
Yeah, I totally get that. But yeah, there's so much interesting stuff to talk about here. They were the first group to do so many things. And it's weird that it didn't stick more because they were the first in so many different ways. They also had crazy amounts of drama. People hated them so much. There's just so much to talk about today. So I'm very excited to get into it. And so let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right, so Baby V.O.X. debuted on July 10th, 1997, 25 years ago this month. And they are under a company called DR Music. This is a company, I feel like Baby V.O.X. is their only real success that they've ever had, because these days they manage another extreme drama girl group that is now called Black Swan, but was called Rania and BP Rania, and was supposed to be called Baby V.O.X. Revi when they first debuted.
Rania was supposed to be the third generation's
Baby V.O.X.
Yes. Yeah, it's wild that Rania ended up being connected and drawn into this. And then we've talked about Rania every once in a while because they seem to have such an insane twisted history. So to have them be from the same company is interesting.
It is interesting. So Baby V.O.X. is the name in Korean. Baby V.O.X. It's 5 syllables, and it means baby voices of expression. Expression with no E. And I don't know if this is purposeful, but just a fun fact, V.O.X., Vox, on a lot of recording software is how you shorten vocals. So I don't know if that's purposeful, but
it would
it's
fit.
Something. And the CEO of this company originally wanted the baby part to just be on the debut album. And then the band was just going to be called V.O.X from then on. And then some of their early stages, they were introduced as just V.O.X. But then at some point,
The
they
Baby
just
V.O.X
kept
just
the Baby
stuck.
V.O.X part.
Yeah.
And I learned, like, similar to the HOT deep dive, a lot of this information, I'm going to just say right now, a lot of this information I get from Korean fan wikis that are compiled and written by fans.
Yeah.
And a lot of the information is, like, not sourced, and it's, like, highly opinionated. And there's also a lot of, like, victimhood in, like, all of it.
Yeah.
So, like, just take it all with a grain of, like, this is how the fans remember it.
Yeah. And it's also, I think, worth noting because it can be very difficult to find reliable sources about first gen groups. And like when we do deep dives for newer groups, like we can find so much like statistics
Articles and
articles
videos
and
and-
yeah, like all these things that are just like, oh, this one fact is corroborated by 4 different sources. And here it's like, I found one source that says this and another source that maybe kind of implies it, but we're just going to say perhaps.
Perhaps. There's going to be a lot of allegedly in this episode. But one of the things that the fans say is that they ask that you never shorten the group's name to V.O.X because apparently the antis would like spam tag like porn and awful stuff like with V.O.X to try to like
fuck up
sully
the
the search
algorithm or
results
whatever.
or whatever. So like it's an anti-term. Similarly to like we said, you can't say 2VXQ. Like they don't
Sure.
like V.O.X. So like don't say that. Their fan color was pearl baby pink. And they were one of very few groups at this time that had an official fan color. Like that was still such a new thing, but they had one. Their fan club was Baby Angels, which I thought was interesting because HOT's was White Angels.
Oh, yeah.
And they have deep beef with each other, these two fandoms. So
Yeah.
funny that they like share a name.
And neither of them are very angelic about it.
No. And I found that their official fan cafe at the time, the Korean title translates to, "Do you know Pretty Baby V.O.X?" So that's what they operated under. And some overall notes to get started. Baby V.O.X is the actual first gen girl group. Like, not that there had never been groups of girl singers before, but in this like new iteration of we have K-pop now, Baby V.O.X was first. They were literally first.
Yeah, even before SES. Like they debuted first girl group, making this newfangled sound.
Yeah. And they were strangely controversial, like their entire career, and mostly kind of just for being girls.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the things that people hated them for were not things they actually did. They like just existed and people
Yeah.
didn't like it.
And even things where like they were doing the same things that the boy groups were doing, but they just hated that girls were doing it. And it was just, misogyny.
So they were like undisputably had the most anti-fans, like maybe of any group ever. I don't know. But like people fucking hated Baby V.O.X, which is so interesting to me. There are also, we'll get into it when we talk about members, but there were only ever 5 people in Baby V.O.X at a time, but there have been 9 people in Baby V.O.X
Gotcha.
throughout time. And I learned that they were also the first group to ever do sexy anything. And a lot of the stuff you'd watch it and it'd seem extremely tame by today's standards, but like no one had ever like shown their belly button on TV before. And like they had like cleavage outfits and like they did body rolls and like they were.
And they also started incorporating, because they always had backup dancers, but then toward the like later half when they were getting like, we're mature, sexy Baby V.O.X now, they were doing like partner dances. And so that was something too that's like, well, we're not usually seeing boys and girls like touching and dancing together on stage.
And in the later years, they had belly button rings, which was also a huge problem. And yeah, some cool stuff. They were the first group to ever enter the Thai market, as well as a bunch of other like Asian markets. But they were like hailed as the true Hallyu stars because of how popular they were in Asia. And they performed in over 45 overseas shows in the early 2000s, which was a record for K-pop at the time to get to do that many shows abroad. First girl group to ever hold a solo concert in Korea, and the first foreign girl group to ever have a solo concert in both China and Japan.
Yeah. We're going to talk about it when we get into the timeline, but they really exploded in China, which was the first time that any foreign group had ever done that. So they made big waves.
Yeah, I think there's definitely like an argument to be made that the reason that Chinese journalists came up with the term Hallyu is because of Baby V.O.X.
Yeah, for sure.
So they're very important. Like the fun fact, even at one point, in Beijing, they opened a school called the Baby V.O.X Computer School. Like that's how popular they were, that they were naming things after them. And my personal note for Baby V.O.X, like a thing I knew from doing the 2000 deep dives, is that like their hair, I feel like they like lead the pack in like wild first gen hair.
For girl groups, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. HOT is hard to beat with the wild hair. I think TVXQ puts up a real good fight. But they do some interesting choices.
And a few little like fun facts that I found from one of these Korean wikis that I didn't really know where to put elsewhere is that their fans admittedly and proudly say that they were the third most popular girl group. And they're like not ashamed of that because the company was really small. And so they think that it was, quote, a miraculous achievement. Sure. So they're not at all pressed about being third most popular. They think it's fine. And also, Baby V.O.X was considered a tall girl group because all of them are over 5'6", and they're all like very skinny and long. And like when you watch them, you're like, oh yeah, they do all look pretty tall.
Yeah.
So that was a thing about them, was that they were tall. And I learned that Baby V.O.X as a group, they all had to speak to each other in extra formal Korean. Like that was how the company decided the vibe should be, that they should all speak formally to each other. So there was a lot of like anti-hatred that like Baby V.O.X lives military style and their leader bullies them or whatever.
Sure.
Baby V.O.X doesn't feel that way. But that was like a thing at the time.
Yeah.
Like, oh, they're too strict. Like,
yeah.
Whatever. So anyway.
But overall, they have put out 7 studio albums, 1 compilation album, and 1 Japanese EP. They won 5 music shows and 29 other awards. And looking through the list of their awards and nominations, they never lost an award they were nominated for, which is the first group we've done that had full green wands on all of their awards. They won all of them.
All right, now's the part where we get into the members.
Yes.
And y'all can't see this. Maybe I can share it, but I made myself one of those like Wikipedia visualizations so that I could try to figure out how this worked, because all of the member changes happened in the first 2 years.
Yeah.
So everything after 99 like is the same version of Baby V.O.X. So I decided to do this member introduction in order of who was in the group the longest.
Okay.
So that,
Okay.
I don't know. That seemed like an okay way to do it. So
Yeah.
We'll start with our leader. Her stage name, as discussed in the stage name episode, is Kim Easy. Her birth name is actually Kim Hwaejong. But then like she goes by Eiji, like professionally now, but like they stylized it as Easy because it's cool. And she was their leader, main rapper, main dancer, a vocalist as well. She did everything. She was born January 31st, 1979 in Incheon, South Korea, and was a member from the beginning to the end. She was the longest, always there. And I have a hard time describing girls. I feel like I have such an easier time saying what boys look like, but I did learn all of their faces. And she is the tallest of all of them. And I just feel like she has such elegant, cool, like, I don't know. It's like if you watched a Baby V.O.X video and didn't know anything about them, I feel like you'd be like, that one is the leader. Because she just has a presence.
Yeah, totally. And I think that like there's a certain moment in the timeline where I like literally wrote down Kim Easy is the star here, because she is like, she I think from the beginning like has the most stage presence and is like has like the most star power like of the group. And her face is just gorgeous. Like her face is so sharp.
Yes.
And
like long and sharp and just like elegant model.
Yeah.
Her body's banging and they always like put her in like the littlest outfits.
Totally.
Like she's not only 5 months older than the next member, but it was like she was the older one. Like,
yeah.
always.
Yeah, and like even in their debut music video, like she's the one that, I mean, she started with like sort of like a tougher, I feel like because she was one of the rappers, so
Right.
she had like a tougher image or whatever, but she's the one that's like, you know, being the little boxer in her sports bra or something. So yeah, beautiful woman.
She was cast in Baby V.O.X while studying dance at Kyunghee University. And she also hid her participation in Baby V.O.X from her super strict Christian family until like the last possible moment. I read that they
wow.
like flew them to the US to like record the debut album, and she like lied to her parents about where she was and tried to keep it a secret like until they were debuted, and
That's
they couldn't
wild.
stop her anymore.
Wow.
But since Baby V.O.X, she got married in 2010 to a stockbroker, and she has one child who was born in 2011. And she's done 26 OST songs by herself since her time in Baby V.O.X, including a song on the Goblin soundtrack and the Oh Hey Young soundtrack that were pretty popular. And I thought this was cool, she did a drama in 2004 that was called Beijing My Love, and it featured both Korean and Chinese language and actors and was simulcast in both countries. It was like a joint effort, which is cool. Next up is Heejin, and she was the face and the vocal for Baby V.O.X and was born May 16th, 1979 in Seoul. And she was a member from beginning to end as well. And she has like a very tiny mouth, like a very round face with like a little chin that she usually like tilted down in pictures. And she has a freckle at the tip of her nose. But she has like she kind of looks like Jung Nara. Like, I don't know. She just has one of those like widow faces. She was street cast. And her nickname in the group was Sparrow because she was chatty and was the one who got a lot of the screen time on variety shows and stuff.
Bubbly personality.
Yes. And since Baby V.O.X, she's done a couple of dramas and musicals. Most recently, she was in a 2018 period drama called The Last Empress. And that's Heejin. Next is Miyeon. She was the main vocal and the visual. She was born February 2nd, 1982 in Seoul and was a member from beginning to end.
Not right at the debut.
Not right at the
But she came in 1997, but she did not debut with them.
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you. And she has like cute cheeks and bunny teeth, and I think she had like the best stage presence. Like she was just real good at like the camera and stuff. She kind of reminds me of Taeyeon. She has like Taeyeon vibes a little bit. Super skinny. And they put her in like pigtails and like cute curly hair. And if like only one person is wearing a skirt, she was wearing a skirt.
Yeah. I thought she had kind of like, she reminded me a little bit of like Nayeon with the way that they like her chubby little cheeks and like the way that they always styled her like super cutesy, and then her being like the main vocal or whatever. She's very, very cute, usually curly hair.
And she was cast after being scouted when Baby V.O.X was filming their second music video. I guess she was around and someone at the company like gave her a card. And then when they lost their first member, they called her back up.
Great.
And threw her in the group. And her nickname was Smurf because she was chubby cheeked. And so they thought she looked like a little Smurf. She debuted solo in 2006 and put out 2 albums and 2 EPs. She hosted a radio show from 2011, and I thought it was kind of a funny little like, oh, there's always kismet in our show. Last week when we talked about Gangnam Style, the elevator guy, No Hong Chol, she took over his radio show
funny.
in 2011. I was like, look at all these connections. And she's done a few like cameo drama appearances, never like a full cast member, and the occasional variety show drop in. Next in line is Shim Eun-jin, and she was the lead dancer, born February 6th, 1981, no birthplace, but somewhere in Korea. She joined the group in 98 and left in 2004. And I feel like she has like very round, kind of sleepy eyes, and they put her in like blue contacts a lot.
Yeah.
And she often had like kind of a serious face. She reminded me a little bit of Luna. I feel like from FX, like that was the person whose face felt like hers was kind of closest to. But I feel like she has a really distinct look. Like she looks very different from the other girls.
Yeah.
Her member profile said she was the least popular member. I was like, rude. And before being added to Baby V.O.X, she was training at a different agency to be in another 5-member girl group. And then when opportunity called, she went to this one. And since Baby V.O.X, she released a solo album in 2005 called Zinies. And at the same time launched a clothing line as album promotion called Jibago. And she held an exhibition a few years ago of her work as an artist, like photography and drawings. And she's released a coffee table art book called
cool.
Hello Stranger.
Oh,
so
fun.
she's an artist now. And then our last, like, longest lived member of Baby V.O.X is the maknae Yoon Eun-hae. She was born October 3rd, 1984 in Guro, South Korea. And she was in the group from 99 to 2005. And I had a really hard time trying to describe her face because I feel like she just looks like the youngest. Like, she looked like the youngest one because she was the youngest by like 5 years. And she also, at the beginning, when she first joined the group, did not get a lot of screen time. So I felt like I was having a hard time finding moments to be like, what does your face look like?
Yeah.
She became like a lead vocal towards the end, but when they first added her to the group, she was very extra. But she looks like the youngest. Like, she just had a youngest face. She also kind of has bunny teeth.
She does sort of have bunny teeth too. And I feel like she has a very drama lead face. Like, it's very, I don't know. I don't know how to describe this face either.
Yeah.
Round and small.
Yeah. But speaking of drama lead, after Baby V.O.X, she became a huge, like, overnight star in 2006 when she starred in a drama called Princess Hours that was incredibly popular. And so off the back of that, they cast her as the lead in Coffee Prince.
Yeah, which is huge.
Another, like, legendary drama. And then I saw that, like, in the years after, then it was like one of those, if your star rises too much, then everyone hates you. Like, her third drama, everyone was like, actually, she's no good. And so, like, there was a little lull in her career, and then she got back to it. I read that she won a Chinese competition show called Goddess Fashion, where, like, celebrities did Project Runway, essentially. And a different Korean designer, like, snarked online that she'd stolen her design, and they got in, like, a public spat about it. And she was most recently, like extremely recently, like a week ago, a member of a project group called MSG Wannabe that they made for one of Yoo Jae-suk's Hangin' With You shows. That's like a temporary group made up of like old idols and actresses.
Yeah.
So she's still very around. I saw on Melon the other day, this MSG Wannabe album was like #1.
Is this the MSG and then isn't there like WSG?
Yes,
or is that
I wrote MSG. She's in
WSG, right?
Because there was
women,
and there was a men.
Yeah.
A while ago. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so she's still very around.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we have Jung Hyun-jun, who was an original vocalist, born December 24th, 1997, and she was only in the group for a year. And she was working as a model in Busan when she got cast and left the group for personal conflicts and was never heard from again. Like, I don't have descriptions for her and the next girl because they were like such a blip and then they were gone.
Yeah, very, very barely there.
So Jung Si-woon, the original rapper, born August 5th, 1978, also was cast at the same time as this girl and left at the same time as this girl for the same reason. So, like, I just thought it was weird. Like, they got cast at the same time and they left at the same time. And, like, maybe they were in love.
I was literally just going to say, maybe they were lesbians.
But they were not in the group very long at all. So I unfortunately don't have much more to say about them.
Fair enough. We wish them well.
Then we had Lee Gai, who was a vocalist born July 9th, 1968. hold on that, member from 98 to 99. And she was, in her time in the group, styled with pigtails, sunglasses, beanies, disguises, if you will, for distraction purposes. And I feel like I'm going to hold on the rest of Lee Kai until we get to this point in the timeline because it is so fascinating and I want to keep it all at one moment. So we'll come back to that. And then finally, the member who was in the absolute least amount of time was Cha Yu-mi. She was the original lead vocal, born December 21st, 1997, here in Los Angeles.
1977.
Sorry, 1977. Yeah, it was.
She was born the year they debuted. That's why they're called Baby V.O.X. Because I had a baby in it.
She's from LA, and she was only in the group for the first song. I don't have a description of her either written down, but I saw that she was cast because she was a relative of a composer named Shin Sung-ho. And she got injured during debut promotions and was sent home to LA and replaced. But since Baby V.O.X, she did release a little bit of SoundCloud music under the name Lola Fair. From 2007 to 2017. And I found her on Instagram. She's at Lola Fair on Instagram. Super LA girl vibe. She has like purple hair. And she was at the Twice concert at the Forum. And I was like, okay,
amazing.
You're just existing around me. But yeah, those are all the
all
past,
9
present,
members who ever were a part of Baby V.O.X for however long
they were. And now it's timeline time where this will all start to make more sense. So, pre-Baby V.O.X, the CEO of DR, his name is Dong Young-yoon, so the DR is from his own name. He had a dream, and his dream was that he wanted to make a Korean version of the Spice Girls, because at this moment, the Spice Girls were the biggest thing on earth. So he just wanted to make Korean Spice Girls and started casting people to make this dream a reality, and he threw a group together in a year. So July 10th, 1997, they released their debut album. It is called Equalizer, which is spelled crazily. I don't know if that's like a German.
I think it's Equalize Her.
Oh, Equalize Her. Because there's an H in this word that shouldn't be there. That makes sense. Parentheses, voice of expression. So there's our Vox. And the debut single is called To a Man. So the music video for this song features all of the members wearing khaki prison uniforms, but they're like unbuttoned, so you can see their tummies. Very TLC. And they're like in a tiny jail cell, and there's like some VR, like an old man in like a VR thing, and it's like they're trying to escape the prison, and there's some like Bratz looking cartoons, but they're not moving cartoons. It's just like a still image of them like fighting a robot.
I don't know what the plot of this music video is, because sometimes they're in the jail, sometimes there's an old man with the VR mask. Sometimes there's like young looking hooligans, like, I don't know, getting into like a street fight in the alley or on a fire escape or something. And then, there's just these like cartoon flashes. And sometimes these even like little like boings or like kapows or whatever, like an old Batman show or something. But when this first started, when the music video started, my first note is, this makes me feel old. Like, is this music? Because the beginning of the song is quite terrible. Like, it's really not great. And the song itself has this like really I don't know if it's a sample. This we've talked about a lot whenever we have our first gen groups where they use that like, what is it called, like public domain music or something, and this one has this like old like haunted house like ooh, and I don't know what that's from, but it's really goofy, and I laughed in all of the stages because one of the girls is like pretending to sing the ooze, and there's like moments where she like comes out front and it's like and I'm like, that's not you. Like, we know that's not you.
Yeah, the lyrics to this one are like, it's called To a Man, and it's essentially like a rant toward a man who has wronged you. Like, I love you, I hate you. But the chorus is like, Mom, I was going to marry him. Like, you don't even get it.
Oh, damn.
But they also say, they keep bringing up democracy and that like democracy is like not going to fail, mother. And so like, I think they were also trying to get some kind of social commentary.
Yes,
in there at the
I
same
read
time.
something that like they were supposed to be the Korean Spice Girls, but that they were also trying to do the same kind of like social justice, HOT, like speak to the youth or whatever kind of thing. But people were not into
People
it.
hated this.
Yeah.
Hated it. They thought that the concept in the lyrics were like harsh and ugly and not befitting of women. And they also hated hearing girls rap. They were especially upset at hearing girls rap because like girls don't rap.
Yeah, and it's really wild to like think about the extremely negative reaction that this got, because watching the stages, like they're doing exactly what the boys were doing at this time. Like
They're
even their
wearing
styling
their
is similar.
outfits.
Yeah, like with the big pants and like the like very sharp like arm choreo with a lot of knees, and there's like a whole like drill team like section of this, and like if it had been HOT singing this song, it would have been a hit.
Right.
But because they were girls, people were like, no, what is this?
And I do have to say, like, I think it's very strange. The CEO of DR Music, I feel like, made a lot of really strange choices. And this is definitely one of them, because I kind of don't see the connection from being like, I want to make the Spice Girls and then just making girl HOT, because those are not the same
thing.
I think he eventually gets towards a more Spice Girly thing, but I just didn't see the connection there.
I think he maybe just thought of it as like the Spice Girls are a girl group, and he didn't necessarily think about what it is that makes the Spice Girls popular.
Yeah.
Because like they were making music for girls.
Right.
And like, I don't think that that's what Baby V.O.X was doing right at the beginning. Like, even though, like the girls were like the main audience for groups like HOT and stuff, like, I don't know. It's not girl pop music the way that the Spice Girls made girl pop music.
Yeah, totally. So because everyone hated this so much, SBS and NBC refused to let them perform because they were like, this is not befitting of television and we will not have them. And I also read like it was just hard to get them in stages in general because there weren't girl groups and everyone was like, there's no market for this. Like,
we don't want to put this on TV.
And you're not Lee Suman, we don't trust you. Like,
yeah, small company too, so you don't have the like money backing you up or the reputation or whatever.
So they pivoted and released a second single from this album called Hair Day.
I've also seen this one called Haircut.
Okay. So the music video for this one is very clearly rushed due to the circumstances. It's basically the girls like dancing around like a carnival, low angle, green filter.
Yeah.
Just like very cheap music video stuff. And like some haircut things, like some scissors going or whatever.
But I thought it was
offbeat.
funny that this was what they like pivoted to after getting a negative response from their debut, because the music video and the intro of this song actually still starts with the like tougher concept and sound, and then it like record scratch like changes into this more like bubblegummy type music.
Yes.
Which is interesting.
The lyrics to this song are like comparing a breakup to a haircut and also talking about getting your haircut after you get dumped. So it's a haircut song about haircuts.
Haircuts and breakups.
And the styling in the music video, they're wearing these absolutely hideous sailor tops. And you know I usually love a sailor theme, but these are hideous. They're like long sleeved ones and like big white pants and like there's like plastic sheet tails.
Yeah. A lot of weird shit.
And then the stage that I put in the playlist, they're wearing HOT outfits, like full ski suits and boxing gloves and the ski goggles and like they're dressed like HOT. So I don't see how this was a pivot at all.
Yeah, it's really, and especially because they don't get rid of the rapping. Like, they definitely still have the two girls rapping, and there is like the most ungodly squeakiness behind, like in the instruments behind it, like some kind of like whatever behind that's like, oh, it's so bad. It's painful.
This song is very, very painful because it's like the chorus itself is like flat and sharp at the same time. They're like, me. Like, oh my God, stop, please. It's really painful. It's really painful.
It's rough. It was hard to find a lot of album sale info for this, especially this first one, because just an FYI, the recording industry of Korea did not incorporate until 2001, and their archives only go back to 1999. But for me, the website was glitching, and it wouldn't let me scroll through the 1999s. But anyway, so I don't have any album sale or chart info for this, but just trust us when we say it wasn't beloved.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess it wasn't very popular. So in October of 97, while they were still promoting these songs, Yumi got hurt and would return to the US after her injury. So the company pulled in Mion, who, like I said, got a business card at the haircut music video, and they just threw her into the group and said that she was just like a temporary fill-in. But Yumi never came back, so it was a permanent choice. And then in December is when Siwoon and Hyunjin left the group for their, quote, personal circumstances. And they found Eunjin, who was training somewhere else, and Igai, who had been working with the company under a different name as a solo artist previously. And more on that later. But now we still have 5, but we got 3 new people that were not there at the debut. So second album came out in September 15th, 1998, and it was called Baby V.O.X 2. And the main single is Ya Ya Ya. So this music video starts with the girls getting beamed out of a really early CGI UFO. And I remember in our first gen episode being like, so many of these music videos have UFOs in them. That was like the hotness at the time. And they're wearing like extremely flowy pants with these very structured tank tops that have like a panel at the bottom of them. Like, it's not a peplum because it doesn't flare out, but it's like a weird stiff belt panel. I just found them kind of odd.
Yeah, and they're also like, the music video starts with them coming out of this UFO in these like weird white suits, and then they do this like popping intro, and then it just goes immediately into this bubble pop. But that little like comes back at like, and the duality in this song gave me a little bit of whiplash, because like, it's such a cutesy sound, like so different from what they originally started with. So they're like really changing their style, like trying fresh, I guess. New girls, new concept, new group. But it's just really weird, like the way that it goes back and forth, I thought was really, really strange.
It is really strange. The lyrics to this one are super simple, straightforward bubblegum. They say, if you want to be my love, I want to be your star. And the chorus is, give me a pretty hug. Hey, hey, hey. Don't make it awkward. Hey, hey, hey. And yeah, the concept for this one is totally, completely different. Everyone has black hair, more skirts, more flowier, girlier stuff. And the song is soft and fun and not like tough and loud. And this was a very purposeful pivot, because at this point, SES and Finkel were out and were popular doing innocent fairy concepts.
Yeah.
And so the DR was like, well, shit, I got to do innocent fairy now. And just like changed everything for it. There's a weird wave in the chorus that was called the Hello Dance and was kind of popular, I guess. And the album sold over 75,000 copies in Korea. So we don't know how the first one did, but
we can assume this one was much more popular than the first.
They did a second single from this album as well, and it is called Change. So this music video has them in different like red rooms or backgrounds or outside, but in every single scene they are all wearing the same outfit. And like bulky jackets and like fuzzy vests.
Yeah,
and
a lot
kind
of,
of like
like
future winter.
but very chunky. Like one of the girls is wearing this turtleneck that is so thick it looks like a neck brace. And then they have a lot of like fur boas like stapled to their collars and their like sleeve edges and stuff.
And something notable about this music video that we'll get to in just a moment is that our most recent member, Lee Gai, really fucks up the choreography in the music video in a noticeable way.
Yeah.
Like
her arms are
bad.
so off. Like there's a part in the chorus where they like literally just like punch in the air. Like they go like punch, 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 punch. And she's like punching at the wrong time and in the wrong like order. And she looks lost.
Very noticeable and very strange. But the lyrics to this one are like a little bit sad, like talking about girls changing into women and feeling like shit about it. Like the chorus is, "Can't I be perfect like a girl in a magazine?" So it's like sad change, puberty change, stressful change. I read that for this album, like because he wanted to change the group's whole thing and was like, "Oh, we got to change it all up," they had to study the martial art Taekyon for 3 months to like try to get better at being like flowy and controlled at their choreography or something.
Well, I don't think it helped.
I don't think it helped.
But despite our reservations about this comeback, like I said, it was more popular than their first. And at the end of 1998, they won the KMTV Popularity Award and the SBS Gayo Daejeon Rookie Award.
So in January 99, we have some deep drama. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit to Lee Gai. Because in January 1999, the tabloid Sports Soul comes out with an article, Baby V.O.X member lying about her age. And K-pop stars lie about their age sometimes, a year or two here and there. But she was 10 years older than suspected and was actually 31 years old.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. So the story with Lee Gai is this. In the 80s, she was in a 3-member girl group that was called, it translated to 3 Generations. And they were kind of like girl sobangcha. Like,
Yeah.
it was a little silly, a little like trot dance, like that was like their vibe. And they were like sort of popular, but they also had a lot of antis because one time they did a stage with sobangcha that was a wedding concept.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Everybody
so
lost
nobody
their
likes
minds.
that. But then after that group disbanded, then she was in a little like duo, like a club dance duo with another girl called Tom Tom that was like not very popular. So then the DR music guy felt bad for her and thought she was cool. So she released some solo albums in 1991, 92 under the name Lee Jisoo. And at the time, people found her like driver's license or something, and her birthday was off by a year because when she was a solo artist, she claimed to be born in 69 and not 68. But then everybody forgot about it because there was no internet and there was no record of this.
Sure.
So she just kind of like disappeared. But she was still at DR. So originally she was supposed to be a Baby V.O.X, like in the first iteration of it, but she got hurt or something, so they replaced her. But then when they lost 2 members, the CEO was like, let's just grab her back, change her name entirely, put her in glasses and pigtails, and no one will notice. Which is a
wild choice.
So like, yeah, that's why she was wearing glasses and like beanies and stuff. And when you look at her, like she doesn't look like an old woman or anything, but like she has the vibe that I could only describe of like the school, we were really good and we raised all the money for the school, so the teacher is gonna dress like an idol today.
Yeah.
Like it has that vibe of like a grown-up putting a costume on. Like it feels really apparent when you look at her in the videos and stuff and you're like, oh my God, you are 10 years older than them, aren't you?
It makes me think of like when we do our dances with like the teens in class,
Yeah.
and like I'm standing next to a 14-year-old or something, and like yeah, it's just very interesting too that like, because when I first heard this scandal of like, oh, she lied about her age, like, wow, okay, but the idea that the CEO knew how old she was and like he decided to
it
lie
was like
about
a
her
plan.
age. Like this was not just like, oh, I'm gonna lie about my age and audition for a new company and start fresh. This was like, this guy knows who I am.
Everyone was in on this
and
lie.
it was the company's choice to perpetuate this lie. So wow.
But the whole thing was exposed by like fans who were suspicious of her from the beginning. Like the fans called her Ajuma right when they added her to the group because they were like, I don't know about you. And there was like a famous clip where like she couldn't remember how old she was supposed to be. And they like were talking to soccer players and she addressed an 18-year-old soccer player as Oppa. And everyone was like, you're older than him, right?
Yeah.
And it was like she didn't calculate properly. And so they like dug and like tried to find like birth certificates and college addresses. And then like someone saw an old performance of one of her old groups and they're like, I think they look the same. And like brought all the evidence to a tabloid and they like figured it out. But just so wild.
Yeah.
So wild. 10 years.
Yeah. That is a big lie. And people were mad.
So
like
mad.
they were not appreciative of this deception. And she got kicked out immediately.
Yeah. So to try to rectify this, in April of 99, the company had a public audition for new member of Baby V.O.X. And 14-year-old Yoon Eun-hye was cast, and now Baby V.O.X. is complete. These 5 will be the 5 for the rest of the time. So we're done with member changes now. One more little note I had to make on the DR executive having wild ideas. Before he decided to pivot to girlier for this concept, he had wanted to make them a band. So the reason that Gai was added to the group
she
is
played
she's
the
a
piano.
pianist. And like the girls had been like learning instruments and he wanted to make them a band. But then like SES was popular and he was like, fuck it, scrap the band. Like we're doing fairy idols.
But also Spice Girls aren't a band either, dude. Pick a lane.
Pick a lane.
Like, whatever.
So anyway, July 22nd, 99, we now have our definitive Baby V.O.X. and they released their third and my personal favorite, I think their best album. It's called Come 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 Baby, and the single was Get Up. Armband tattoos.
I know. There's so many of them. And I laugh. They like don't go all the way around. Like they just like stop halfway through.
So the lyrics to this song were written by JYP, and he caused a little bit of controversy for Baby V.O.X.
Ooh.
because he decided to copyright this song under his first wife's name and not his name.
Weird.
So when it appeared on music shows in the credits, it like had his wife's name as the composer. But then Baby V.O.X. said in an interview, like, JYP wrote our new song, and everyone was like, Baby V.O.X. are liars!
Jesus Christ.
People didn't like them. And I also saw that Hitman Bang produced 2 of the songs on this album as well.
Nice.
So those guys are around. But the music video for this one, the main set is like, I think it's a restaurant. There's like tables
there's like
and
a
chairs.
bar behind them and like a counter or something.
And
Yeah.
then they're in like a record store that's like hexagonal shaped. So it gives that kind of like NSYNC tunnel
yes.
P. Diddy vibe.
Although I thought it was a CVS, it kind of looks like the like Hallmark aisle, like
Sure.
the greeting card aisle. But this song is definitely their catchiest to date. I think like it has a grooviness to it that their other songs didn't have.
But yeah, they were wearing like very shiny outfits for all of this, like kind of light and flowy baggy pants with like pretty baby blue tank tops and stuff, and they all have the most 1999 hair, like so much just like
Oh my gosh.
spikes out of the top.
The
and,
one
like,
who always has the curls. Her pigtails are so insanely curly. And I had like flashbacks because I used to do that to my, like, I have curly hair, but when I was in middle school, I would like sleep with it in curlers and then like put it in little pigtails so that I had little like Shirley Temple like pigtails or whatever. And that's what this girl looks like.
But Easy was showing quite a bit of cleavage in the stages for this, which again created a big old stink. People were not used to that.
Yeah. But this was the first time that I wrote down like she's the star here because like the stages, I thought she was really carrying the stages, but they are getting much better live.
Yes.
I will say like this 5 stronger live singers.
Yeah,
Not the best, but they're getting better.
But they're getting better. The lyrics that JYP wrote are very, very simple. They're get a get up. Oh, get a move on me tonight.
Yeah.
Get up.
It's like 7 get-ups. But this got them their first music show win on Music Bank on August 8th, and it was their first single to reach #1 on the Korean charts. The album sold over 200,000 copies in South Korea and won a Top Excellency Award at the 1999 Seoul Music Awards.
So almost more than double the sales of the last album. So.
Yes.
And I had just one quick moment. They got their first ever commercial off of this song, and it was for the fast food restaurant Hardee's.
잘 나가 맛있네.
맛의 스타 탄생.
And that's the only one I wrote down, but I did lose an entire hour watching every commercial they ever made for their whole career because I am so endlessly fascinated by like idol commercials. They're just very funny to me. But I had to note that they got one. They had many, many more after it, but this is the only one I noted because it was first. Okay, drama time.
Yes.
So, summer of 99. Rumors are just spreading online with truly no backup. There's no picture. Like, there's nothing
No
to
evidence.
prove this rumor, but a rumor was started that Neon, the curly pigtail member, was dating Moon Hee-jun from HOT.
I believe we talked about this in the HOT deep
episode
dive.
because it brings the crazy of the HOT fans out like in full force. And I'm going to read you a little list. But again, for fairness sake, only a few of these items were for sure corroborated with multiple news stories and definitely happened. And some of them might be fan urban legend. So just getting that out here now.
Great.
But the group was mailed envelopes full of razor blades and like letters covered in blood saying, I'm gonna fucking kill you. And pictures of Baby V.O.X with like their eyes gouged out and like drew big boobs on them and just like mailing them hate. A fan with specifically, I loved this detail in the article, a Pikachu-shaped water gun that she had filled with vinegar, pepper, soy sauce, and sand.
Jesus.
And the group was outside of their place waiting to get in a van to go to a college show. And she sprayed them all in the face with this water gun. And Eunhae got corneal damage and had to like sit out promotions because this bitch sprayed her in the eyes.
Jesus Christ.
And that happened for sure in May of 2000. So this kept going. This starts in summer 99 and it like does not stop. Some music show recordings were ruined from fans of other groups shouting curses, like throwing
Booing.
shit, being assholes. These are the ones that were not corroborated, but apparently they were sent dead animals in the mail or left outside of their apartment. This was a story, it was like on one article, it said that something almost happened. And then another one said that it did happen, and I couldn't find any proof of it. But they said that a fan showed up at a fan sign with a razor blade in her hand and like shook Mion's hand and cut her. But like there was no like proof that happened. I hope it didn't because that's terrible. And people threw rocks and eggs and shit at them in public. And like, they were just the most hated group.
Yeah. And then they were already disliked just for being ladies. And then one of these ladies is not even confirmed dating an HOT. And now they really hate you.
And it was so bad. This is like another one of those like firsts of Baby Voxes, even though it's very negative. In September of 99, all of these threats made the actual national nightly like serious news. They had to like actually talk about this because it had gotten so bad. And like nobody gave a shit about idol stuff at this point ever. So it was like a very big deal that this had gotten so out of hand that they felt everyone needed to know about it. So very nuts. Very nuts.
Yeah. And that all happened like in between promotions.
Yeah, they were still doing stuff constantly during this like storm of hatred.
And we've talked about this a little bit before with just like our first gen episodes in general, but like first gen promoted their albums and their musics differently. So like they put out this album and they promote one single for a while, and then they're going to promote another single for a while, and then they're going to promote another single for a while. So like the rumors start circulating when they've only just promoted the first single. So they have to get back to promotions amidst all of this like vitriol.
Yeah.
So that's really putting a damper on what was otherwise their most successful album to date.
So on September 25th, amongst all of this stuff, they released their second single from this album, and it is called Killer. We could not find a music video for this. I searched high and low, but I don't think it exists. But they did promote this a ton on music shows and the outfits were like, I could only describe as future badass concept because they were wearing like shiny materials and like high boots with like trench coats and so many buckles.
Yeah.
And everybody's hair was crispy.
Oh, all of my notes are just like so shiny, so crimpy.
The gel budget must have been through the roof. And like kind of iconically, like Mion during this comeback had like braids put into like cat ear cones, like very Scary Spice, like cones.
But then like whereas Scary Spice would have just like her natural hair being like curly around it, Mion had like the cones were made of like little braids, and they had like braids wrapped around them and then hanging down, and then her hair was like long and down and like braided, so it looked really wild.
Yeah, very iconic.
But the song charted at number 1, and it won a trophy on Inkigayo and was first place on the music show Music Tank for 3 weeks.
The lyrics to this one are like, the sound of your laughter is a cruel sound. Let me forget about it now. Ooh. Like, I'm the killer and I'm going to kill my memories of you because you're haunting me. And there's a man rapping in English on the song. He's not credited in any way, and whatever he says is not included in the official like lyric book, and during the stages they would just do like a dance break to it, but like I don't know where it came from or who it is or what it is.
Weird.
It probably was sampled from a totally different song, honestly. But I think that this song slaps. I listened to it so many times. I watched every single stage. And it's like going on my list. I have like a running list of first Jenny, like of before I found K-pop songs, that it's like, if I had seen this when it came out, it would have changed the trajectory of my life completely. And I think this song is 100% one of those songs. If 11-year-old me had seen a Killer stage, I would have been lost forever because I think this song is so good. I love it. I think it's great. And I would have thought they were so cool. And like, I liked this comeback particularly.
Fair enough.
In November of 99, they released their third song from this album, and it is called Missing You. This one does have a music video, and it like starts with Baby V.O.X reading fan letters, and then they like get one from a sickly boy, and they visit him, and maybe he dies, maybe he is dead. It's not extremely clear.
But they do show him like in what looks like a little, I don't know,
like Viking grave.
Yeah, I was gonna say, who is a Snow White like coffin or something?
Little, like pyre.
But yeah, he's like on a slab, I guess, and he's like surrounded by green flowers, but then covered in a blanket of not green flowers, green leaves, and then covered in a blanket of like brown autumn leaves, and like all you can see is his face, and his eyes are closed because he's like dead.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
And then at the end
really
of the
weird.
video, they're all standing in like white dresses and standing in like 1.5 inches of water, and they like pray for his soul.
Wow.
It's like very strange.
Yeah.
It's very strange.
But it's a pretty song.
And they did a couple of music show stages of this where they were just like step touching in the same like dresses or coats. Like,
Yeah.
it was just one of those little
Stand and
ballads.
sings. So at the end of 1999, they took home a few awards. They again won the KMTV Popularity Award. They won an SBS Gayo Daejun Top 10 Singers Award and the Seoul Music Awards Bonsang, which is their main event.
On January 5th, 2000, their fan club had their first official meeting at Jamsil Fencing Stadium, and 1,500 people were in attendance. And apparently, according to the fan history, people were afraid to show up to this fan event because there were rumors that the HOT fans had created a gang and were going to jump them.
Oh my God.
So everyone was like scared to attend.
Wow. That's so wild.
They're so intense. I also read that on May 2nd, 2000, they performed their upcoming single that we'll get to in a second for the first time at the Korea-China Friendship Night held in Guilin, China. I don't know how to say that, but
I'm not sure either.
Okay.
Guilin.
but yeah, China-Korea Friendship Night. They got to debut
Nice.
the single early. So this is our first touch of like coming to China. May 16th, 2000, it is time for the fourth album, which is entitled Why, and the single is of the same name.
This is my favorite Baby V.O.X album.
So the music video for this one was filmed in like various caves and like old-timey looking like arches and like old architecture, and they're wearing like strangely structured tops and these very long like tulle skirts that are like really bright primary colors. I remember when we talked about this into the 2000 deep dive, we were like, these outfits are crazy.
Yeah, and there's like some of them have like it's obviously supposed to be some kind of like ring or something, but it literally looks like they were doing a craft and like feathers got stuck to their hand.
Yes.
Because there's just like feathers stuck to their pinkies, and like sometimes they had them on the stage too, and it just looks really silly. The stage outfits were bananas as well.
But something wild about this one is that Heejin has like blonde hair in the music video and has like some shiny like tinsel braids like throughout it, but it's like very blonde. And KBS would not let them perform because her blonde hair was against broadcasting standards.
Wow.
Like it wasn't okay for people to have blonde hair. It's not natural or whatever. So they couldn't perform on KBS because of her blonde hair.
Interesting. That's really interesting.
What a time.
And I also wonder how strictly KBS stuck to that, because I know that the boy groups also dyed their hair. So were they also banning like HOT and
I don't know.
Moonjin's weird hair?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I don't
Moon Heejun.
Heejun's hair. Like I don't know.
I don't know, but I thought that was wild. The lyrics to this one are like, why can't I see the love in your smile? Why do you want to run away from me? I felt the love, but then it was over. Why didn't I know it then? Why? They say why so
They
many
say it a
times.
lot. They do. This was a popular album. It sold over 150,000 copies.
And as we sort of mentioned, the stage costumes for this one were pretty varied and pretty wild. And like you said, sometimes they had feathers on their fingers or like whole scarves that were tied to their skirts. Like there was
There's a lot of dramatic hand movements in this choreography, so they had a lot of things to like draw attention to the hands.
Yeah. And the other weirdest part is then like most of the stages, Easy was wearing like what I could only describe as like 90s fashion bridal headpieces.
They looked like things that like old school Barbies would have had
Yes.
as like a, this is my wedding hat. And it's just like a
Yes.
little like weird fascinator with like a enormous poof of tulle on it. And it looks bananas.
They're very crazy, very crazy.
I also wrote down that the tinsel hair that I think it was Mion who had the tinsel hair was like the chonkiest tinsel hair I'd ever seen. Like when we went to the Twice concert and Jiho had like like single strands like interspersed through her hair that probably took literally hours to put in. And then you have this girl who has like full chonky braids, like just straight up pigtails of tinsel like, clipped into her head. It's wild.
So to continue this album promotion in July, they started promoting a second single called Betrayal. So this music video like starts to get into like a more standard, like getting into like a second Jenny K-pop thing, and that it's like a super box video with like lots of mirrored backgrounds and stuff. And they're wearing silver crop tops and baggy pants, and the maknae in this one has the craziest hair. Like, I don't think you can call them actual braids because I don't think there's even any hair. It like looks like
It's
pom-pom garland rope.
Yeah.
It's just like tied all over her head.
Yeah, there's like just straight, like it looks like she got her head stuck in like a fishing net because there is just like shit in it, like all kind of like tangled in, and it just doesn't.
It's all
even
different
look,
colors.
Yeah, and it just doesn't look natural, and it looks weird. It just looks weird.
The lyrics to this one are, "I'm forgetting everything about you, so don't look back at me with regret." And the backing track is so similar, if not the exact same backing track as NSYNC's Bye Bye Bye.
You can sing it over it.
It's the same.
But I love it.
Yes.
I really liked this song. As soon as it started, I was like, ooh, a little bye 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 action. Like, I'm always into that. So yeah, I liked this song. I like this album.
I read that during the August music bank of this song, Shinhwa's fans were acting up so much in the crowd that they got banned from like the next two recordings. Like Shinhwa's fans weren't allowed to come because they like were so
Acting a
shitty
fool.
during the Baby V.O.X stuff. And I don't know why they decided to get involved. Like, I don't think Shinhwa
what, you
had
don't have any
anything
skin
to
in
do
this
with
game?
this. I don't know.
Just stay away from all the boys, I guess.
I think
if
so.
HOT can fall, Shinhwa's next.
Yeah. Here's another crazy story that I could not find a single source to back up, but it is crazy if it's true. In summer of 2000, Baby V.O.X went to Saipan to film some like content and go scuba diving. And then suddenly a typhoon hit and they had to be like rescued from the ocean from like a typhoon. But again, I could not find anything to back that up other than a single line in a fan wiki. And I was like, that seems like something someone would have written about. But crazy if true.
That is crazy. Also along the lines of like difficult to corroborate throughout their career. But I believe that the success of this fourth album is what led to the growing international promotions for Baby V.O.X. They start traveling to China, Japan, and other Southeast Asian countries in promotion of this new album.
Yeah, I saw in October of 2000, they performed at the World Beer Festival in Qingdao, China, and the Bee Gees were there too.
Wow.
Like they were on the same lineup as the Bee Gees, which I thought was hilarious.
Also in October of 2000, on the 22nd, they did their first Japanese activities. They held a 300-person fan sign and a 700-person concert.
Which is, yeah, they're doing it. They're traveling.
They're getting out there.
So on November 3rd of 2000, they released the third and final single from Y, and the song is called Permission. We'll translate it to Permission. So the music video for this one's really simple. The girls are either in black or white, like long sleeve shirts, and they appear to be standing in a barn.
Something
Outdoor,
space.
and they're just staring sadly into the distance
Yeah.
and singing.
Looking
sadly.
beautiful. And the song it has like a very grand, like sweeping intro, but the ballad itself is just kind of groovy and like swaying. And it's really pleasant. They sound
And
nice on it.
I found that they only when they did perform this, they just like stood still at mic stands. But every single performance of it, they only do a verse and a chorus, and then it like goes into why or like the song that people are there for. Like they never like did
Do
the
whole thing. Yeah. At the end of this year, 2000, they took home the Korea Entertainment and Arts Award for Next Generation Group. They took home the SBS Producers Award at the SBS Gayo and the Popularity Award at the Seoul Music Awards.
There you go. So then in June of 2001, it's time for the 5th album. And this one is called Boyish Story because we're changing the concept a little bit for a little vibes. And the single is called Game Over.
제발 먼저 날 떠나가줘 Wanna leave but no 더 이상 아무 느낌 없잖아 그냥 스쳐갈 사랑이 되죠 그걸로 모자라니 I'm gonna let you go 더 이상 흔들리지 말아줘
So this one, to go along with the album title of Boyish Story, they wanted to do like a kind of masculine-y concept. Eunjin caught all of her hair off, which was like a really big deal. Like she has super, super short hair. And we discussed this in the 2001 deep dive because this music video has a lot of bad boys being bad. They're smoking cigarettes and they
Actually
have guns.
smoking, and one of them has terrible braids / dreadlocks
that
and
look
he
like
needs to be
shit.
gotten rid of immediately. But the girls also are like this is a more like mature baby box that we're getting. Like they're wearing like in the shots where they're like leaning sexy in the limo, they're like wearing kind of suits, like very well tailored, like structured, like nice lady suits. And they're just like, game over, dude, we're done.
Yeah, because the lyrics are, I'm going to leave you now. I don't even feel anything for you anymore. It was a passing love and it isn't enough for me. Please don't be shaken up. I'm sorry too. But my tears only flow for the new love that awaits me.
And this choreo has the first like instance of partner dancing that I saw flipping through their discography. There's like a couple different moments in it, but I feel like the part that's scandalous a little bit is that there's a whole point where they're like dancing with the boys, and then the boys turn them around so that the girls have their backs to them, and then they like drop and do this whole like body roll up butt first into the guy's like front. So they're basically just like rolling their butt on the guy's crotch. It's wild. I was like, I'm surprised they didn't get in trouble for this because they didn't have to change that choreo
No, they do it on all the
the shows.
stages.
Yeah, I was shocked. I was like, blonde hair, no, but butt rolling, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this album was interesting because it was 16 tracks, which was like the most they'd ever done so far. But also it was a big deal because every member has at least one writing credit on this album. Easy wrote the song Please and the lyrics for Game Over. Miyeon wrote a song called Last Gift. Eunhae wrote the lyrics for To Angel, which is like the only like a fan song that's an official fan song. And Heejin wrote The One, and Eunjin wrote the lyrics for the intro track. So everyone got to participate in this album, which is cool. But the sales dropped to 90,000 for this one.
Yeah, which is a pretty big drop because they'd sold over 150 in the last one. So not quite as popular as before.
But the second single, released in August of 2001, is called Doll. So the music video for this one has like a music box / paparazzi allegory. Like it's like I think it's trying to draw the comparison that like being an idol is like being a doll in a box and people look at you or whatever. There's also a sexy like flower petal bathtub. Like they're all like in a bathtub like full of flowers or whatever. But I found the styling for this one kind of confusing, because Eunhae and Miyeon look like dolls with pigtails and skirts and like little ballerina stuff. But the other three are still doing the like cool, tough, masculine lady suit thing from the first single. And so when they're all on stage together, I feel like it's kind of a confusing
Yeah,
concept
it's a
work.
little odd, but they do always start with the like they start like frozen like little dolls, and then they kind of do like a doll like waking up robot dance because the song starts with like a music box intro or whatever, and then they like come to life. So it is a little odd to like see them not really matching in what they're wearing while they're being these little dolls, because they like don't look like they come like a set. But there's more partner dancing in this one, which is fun. That was kind of like the concept of their choreo for this album, I guess.
I think this song is like very, very weird. And I just have to point out
think
there's
it's weird,
this
too.
part in the middle that is so inexplicable to me. It just hits the ear weird. I
It
don't
hits
like
the ear
it.
weird. The like feel flat in a
Yeah.
way that like shouldn't be possible. And I thought this whole song was very odd. Like I don't know, something about it is very like suspenseful or like
Yeah.
mysterious.
Yes,
like
yes,
I don't know,
yes.
there's a weird element to this song that I couldn't put my finger on, but like sat weirdly in my brain.
Yeah. But despite us thinking it was weird, this song was more popular than Game Over.
Shocking.
And crazy fact, or it's not that crazy, but I found out that they were originally supposed to perform a song called Close as the second single, but the fans got wind of this and thought that the song was too sexual and cringy, and they did not want Baby V.O.X to perform it. They like knew that they just like didn't want it. They were like, please
Like
don't.
Baby V.O.X fans
Yes.
were like, no,
Please
don't put our
do
girls.
Close.
Yeah.
Yes. And the song itself has like extremely To Become One Spice Girls lyrics, but like there's a heavy breathing. Here's a sample.
모든 걸 가져가 조금씩 가까이 더 다가와 가까이 더 다가와 뜨거워진 내 몸을 부탁해.
I don't think it's a bad song. I think it's like a good song, but like I totally get where they were coming from of like, please don't make them perform this. We'll never hear the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, especially when they have already come under such intense fire, like for other wildly innocuous things. Like, yeah, let's just not add any fuel to the fire here.
Yeah. So they listened to the fans. They did not Too Close. They did Doll instead. But the third single from this album was released in September, and it is called May You Be My Love.
그대 지금 기대고 내 작은 어깨에 편안히 잠들 수 있기를.
This one doesn't have a music video, but they stood at mics and did like, little wiggles and arms,
Yeah.
like to go out.
Yeah, just a nice little step touch R&B ballad. It's very pleasant.
And I don't know what the reason would be, but they performed this song like way more in 2002. Like looking at the dates of the stages, I think it's because we'll talk about it in a second, but their 2002 album was a compilation album. So I wonder if they were just like, let's keep doing that one or
Yeah.
something. But the majority of the performances came like way later.
Weird. So at the end of 2001, they won just a couple of awards. They got a KBS Music Award Singer of the Year, the ITV Music Awards Youth Popularity Award, and they were also awarded Best Dresser in the Singer category, hosted by Model Line Co. Limited, which I guess was like a clothing company.
Yeah, probably. So next up in April of 2002, they released their first compilation album. It's called Special Album, and the single, the only new song on it, I believe, or one of
There's two.
two.
songs
Okay,
on it.
one was called Coincidence.
뒤로 돌아봤고 너도 나를 보고 있었지 우린 서로 말없이 서로 위로하고 있었지 시간은 벌써 2년이나 지나갔고 그땐 우린 얼마나 많은 방황을 했었나 영원히
So the music video for this one has a lot of like focus switching because the song itself has kind of almost like an answer and call and response piece. So it'd be like one member's in the foreground and one's in the back, and they just like switch the focus between them. And there's like a clear bubble chair and like a car driving in the rain.
Yeah.
Lots of scarves on heads, scarves on belts. Just a lot of scarves and like them just like looking very like I don't know, serious, like delivering the song like
Yes.
really intensely.
Very seriously. And we talked about this song in one of our like 2000, I think maybe in the
2002
2002
deep dive,
episode.
yeah.
Because as soon as this song started playing, I was like, oh, I fucking remember this one. Because it's like a weird Latin pop song.
Yeah.
And they have little like oohs in it. And it's strange. Like it has very, like I was saying when we were listening to it, like it's very trotty, like in some of the choruses and like the pre-chorus. So like something about like the way that they kind of like whine the lyrics like sounds like a trot song. And it's just like such an earworm. Like this, it's not my favorite Baby V.O.X song, but it's like one of the ones that
I think
gets
of.
stuck
Yeah.
in. Yeah, it's a very like, I don't know. I don't want to call it iconic because I don't love it, but one of those ones that you remember.
So this song is about running into your ex at the movies while you're both on dates with other people, but you like aren't happy for them because like it's still painful.
Yeah.
It's the original song because this is a remake of a Cola song from 1996, and the Cola version was called Gloomy Coincidence. So they changed it to just Coincidence, but it's otherwise like I think we discussed in the 2002 episode, it's not that different from the original. Like,
Yeah, it's
they
very
didn't change it
similar.
that much.
This single reached #1 on the charts, which was the first time since Get Up that Baby V.O.X had a #1. The album sold over 240,000 copies and is to this day still their best-selling album. It was also used, this song, Coincidence, was used to promote the 2002 World Cup, and they released a special World Cup themed music video for it, and it was like all over Korea that summer. And it is their first and only compilation album. It's a 4-disc album with songs and videos from their previous releases, plus 2 new tracks. This one, Coincidence, and one that we're about to talk about.
So in June, they did a second single, and it is called Go.
Please tell me I've got to make him come back to me. She said, hold me, my baby, don't ever leave. Now your soul when
I like this one.
I love this one. This one is so good. And like, there's no music video, like we said, but the stages that I saw, I was like, oh, we're getting some really solid belting here. Like, this is
Yeah.
a song we could not have released at the beginning of our career. And like, look at you, you're nailing it.
The performance of this we put in the playlist. I really liked the outfits. They're just wearing like regular mall girl tops that are like yellow, and then everyone has either pants or a skirt made out of the same like floral material. And I just was like, ooh, I like this.
I love it when groups wear different outfits made out of the same
Fabric, yeah.
like little Von Trapps.
Yes,
I just love it.
I love it.
So on August 15th in 2002, they held their live concert in Seoul. And it's funny, I didn't realize this. I didn't write it down initially, but I made the connection when we were talking about the members. This concert was held at an auditorium of, wait, now I have to scroll up in order to find the name. Who was it that went to college?
Easy went to Kyunghee University.
That was the school.
Oh, they did it? Oh,
They did it at her
cool.
school. Yeah, so they did it at the auditorium of the Kyunghee University, which is cool because Easy is an alum from there. So they, now I have to scroll all the way back down in order to find where we were. Okay, so they had their first live concert, and I believe that, I don't want to say that they were, but were they the first girl group to have their own solo
That
show?
was what I was told.
That's
that
what
they
I
were
was
the
told,
first
too.
girl group to have their own their own
standalone
solo
concert. Like it was they're not just one of many performers, like it's their show. But then I tried, like, because I had seen that written multiple times, and I couldn't find any real information or research about the concert itself or about it being a milestone in that way. So I really don't know.
The only other thing I saw about the concert other than what we have written here was that this concert was like supposed to be like a kind of apology to fans because they'd been in China so much and they like hadn't been doing things at home. So this concert was supposed to be like, okay, we're doing a concert in Seoul, like,
Yeah,
leave
we're
us
back.
alone.
We're back.
But I think the most interesting thing about this concert is that they did a stage of Lady Marmalade, you know, a big song at the moment, where they are like pretty undressed in an arguably very silly way.
Absolutely ridiculous costumes. Like, they are not sexy. One of them actually looks good. The one that's in the little pink number. She looks cute.
But
then
it's like a bikini.
Yeah.
Like, she's not wearing any clothes.
And then I think it's Easy is wearing the most absurd, like, when you first look at her, she looks like she's just wearing like black underwear. But then when she finally got into the light, she's wearing like black underwear underneath these like sheer nude bell bottoms. Like, oh, it's bad.
People on Love Island wear those a lot with like thongs under them. Like completely see-through bell bottoms are like a Gen Z thing.
Wow.
So they were ahead of their time, I think.
I mean, all this 2002 shit is in now, so.
The maknae was not allowed to participate because of this, but here's a sampling. But it's really good cringe watching. It's like it's pretty embarrassing.
Oh, it's
pretty
very embarrassing. And I found it an interesting choice that they like of all West. I know that this was a moment. Like I get it.
Was a huge song. It was a whole.
It was
thing.
huge. It was everywhere. It had so many famous women in it. I get it. But also, it was specifically all of like the best singers of like Western R&B and like at the time. And like Baby V.O.X is not the best singers of K-pop at all. And so like to give them a song that is iconic because of its vocal power, and then to watch this stage where they just don't have the vocal power to pull it off like at all. And it's just like, why? Why?
The other part that was very baffling to me is that like instead of, I don't know, having Easy write a rap in Korean that she could deliver very powerfully, they give her the Little Kim verse and she literally doesn't know the words. And at some points is just going, like not even saying words.
Not saying the words. And what really tickled me was at the very end when they like every single, you know, like Maya has her little whatever, and they do it. They do all of the little individual riffs, and then Easy goes, misdemeanor here. I'm like, no, she's not.
No, she's not.
Missy is not here right now.
That part is actually part of the song. Yeah. But it was wild, and I found it, and I had to include it because
it's very funny. It's very funny. But so the very next month, in September of 2002, after they had spent the earlier in the year promoting Japan, Taiwan, Thailand, and Vietnam, they signed with GMM Grammy, which is a Thai record company, and that made them the first Korean artist to do so. At the end of the year, they won several awards. They won a Chinese Radio Broadcasting Association for Best Hallyu Artist Award. They won the Golden Disc Popularity Award for their song Coincidence. They won a KMTV Achievement Award, an SBS Gayo Bonsang, and 2 awards at the Seoul Music Awards, the Hallyu Award and their Popularity Award.
Well, there you go.
Doing well.
They seem popular to me.
Yeah. And then I saw that in February 9th, 2003, they performed at a Lunar New Year festival here in LA.
Cool.
Yeah. So then March 12th, 2003, they make their Japanese debut with the song Go, which was from their previous compilation album. So this is just a Japanese version of this song. I can only assume that a music video exists for it and was released for the Japanese debut, but I couldn't find it, so that's an assumption.
I searched in all 3 languages, English, Japanese, and Korean. I searched, and I only found like, album audio only. That's all I could find.
Mm-hmm.
But then in April of 2003, they're back in Korea with their 6th full album, and it is called Devotion. And the single is What Should I Do? So the music music video for this one is like an on location outdoor. I'm gonna assume they were in Thailand just based on the scenery. But they're wearing like drapey, midriff, like tropical, you know, like sarong kind of outfits, and driving like an old 80s car through the jungle, or like looking sad in a hotel room or a boat. There's an outdoor tub full of flower petals this time. And Eunjin has like cornrow braids that look greasy AF. Ooh. Like they just look wet.
Gross.
In a kind of nasty way. But yeah.
But the song is really wild, like in the sense that the instrument of it doesn't match the vocals at all. Like it's a super heavy, urgent, like throughout the entire thing. And then it's just like the softest, saddest vocals over it. And it's a real clash.
Yeah, they're singing like my tears will never stop flowing. I love you too much. Like, but yeah, it's got that like
club
remix Euro dance, like just umchas added over a sad song.
I read that during this time, the members without Eunhae participated in a semi-nude photo shoot, and people in the media got like really, really fucking mad about it, and they were like railing against Baby V.O.X, like being so obscene because no other group had done this at the time. But then when the photos actually came out, they were way tamer than anybody had. It was semi-nude, and like
they're just using the word semi-nude to like make people all worried.
Yeah, and so the media like immediately like everyone was kind of like, oh, all right, this is fine, because it like was so much tamer than everybody had thought it was going to be. But everybody loves to hate Baby V.O.X, so they were ready for it. This lead single peaked at number 1 in South Korea and number 4 in Thailand. The album supposedly sold over 600,000 copies across all of Asia, including China, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Thailand. But I saw conflicting sources for the domestic sales. Like one source said it only sold 84,000 domestically, but then another one said that it sold over 200,000. And I was like, those are wildly different
they
numbers.
Really are.
But pretty much everybody agreed that this was one of their more popular international albums, and that's what really boosted the total sales.
Makes sense to me. I also read that this whole album was like a collaboration with Kim Chan-won, who had written the original Cola version of Coincidence. So because that song was so popular, it was like they asked him, like, do you want to be like the artistic lead of our next album or whatever? So fun. That happened. And then I also found this absolutely wild stage accident. I don't know if it sounds good in the audio, but we'll describe it as I'm playing it. Okay, so we've got like a clear, scrim, and it's the shadow of Baby V.O.X. Here we go. And then the stage turns around like way too fast, and they all, oh shit, and they all fall down.
They fall, and the scrim that they were standing behind falls too, because it was clearly just like a little projection screen like set up on a little like, you know, like wheel it into the classroom kind of thing. But whatever they're standing on, the turntable they're on is very small. And so they're like smushed onto it with this thing, and it just like whips around and literally all of them fall to the floor. Like one of them starts to tumble and she takes them all down. And then the like last one to fall knocks the scrim over too. So it's just like they get up and they start singing on cue, like did not miss a beat of it, but
yes. And they talked it like way later, like not many years ago, someone brought this up on like a variety show, and they like laughed about it and said it was funny. Like nobody got really hurt. Like it wasn't a big deal. It's just kind of a wild thing to see. Like they all were just like, it just surprised us and knocked us off of our feet because it whipped around way too fast. Okay, the second single from Devotion was released in June, and it is called Wish. So this music video is boxy as well, and there's like a set with like a light bulb wall, you know, like one of those very like flashy, showy light bulb walls, and then like a hot pink set. Easy's outfit in the black part is so small.
It's so small. Her shorts are so short and her top is so little. Like when she's like one of the first ones that you like see, and I was like, oh wow, like tiniest outfits for sure. But the rest of the girls are pretty covered up.
There's also some like 2003 cell phones and laptops in the music video as well that dated pretty hard, which was kind of funny.
Yeah. But it's really funky. Like it has really heavy bass and like fun horns and kind of has a little like, I don't know, like funkiness to it. And it seemed like a lot of the stages were disco themed.
Yes, because of the huge bell bottoms.
The huge bell bottoms. One of the girls at one point also had her hair like permed into a little afro as well. And like the lighting, and they would do like, you know how like discos would have like the light up colored floors.
Yeah.
So they would do that for the stages too. So they seemed to be like sort of leaning into the like Bee Gees vibe of this song, which was fun.
But this is the song where the belly button rings cause a stink because their stomachs are out and their belly buttons are pierced, and how dare they?
Gasp. On June 28th, 2003, just a few days later, on my 13th birthday, they performed at the Peace Festival in Washington, D.C.
Cool. And I couldn't find an exact date for this, but at some point in 2003, they released a third single off of this album, and it is called I'm Still Loving You.
I'm still loving you. 紧紧握着你的手。
So this song is in Chinese. This was their first like official Chinese single, and it has a music video. Where they're all like in different lonely shots around a city. Like Mion's in like a stadium where no one else is in the seats. So like they just look lonely and they're staring off into the distance because they're still loving you.
Yeah, and singing this pretty ballad. But the music video was filmed in Hong Kong, and as you noted, the song itself is recorded in Chinese. They promoted it in China as a single, and it peaked at #1 on the Chinese national radio charts, which made them the first foreign artists to ever chart that high in China.
Amazing.
And during their international promotions for this song, they also performed live in Mongolia, which made them the first girl group to do so as well.
There was something I saw about Mongolia, but like I couldn't, the translation was stumping me. But I think at some point the Mongolian government like gave Baby V.O.X ceremonial land or something.
Ooh.
Like they got like a gift of like Mongolian land or something, and then when Easy was asked about it in the future, she was like, oh, it's like it's not like real, like we don't own land in Mongolia.
It's just
it was
like
just
ceremonial,
kind of like a thing,
yeah, like an honorary degree or
or
something.
something.
Yeah. Or like Sehun being a lord in
Yes,
Scotland
exactly.
or something. Yeah. Just another international performance note, because like I said, I tried to find a lot of information about their concerts and sort of failed. But on October 6th of 2003, Baby V.O.X and other first-gen groups like Shinhwa performed at a televised concert in Pyongyang, North Korea. And always significant, I think, when K-pop idols go to North Korea.
Yeah, I read that between dress rehearsal and the real performance, they had to change their outfits because the North Korean officials were not happy about the way that Baby V.O.X dressed.
They were, I mean, this was their like small outfit era,
Yeah.
so that's fair. No belly button rings in North Korea.
I read another really crazy story that I found. On October 10th, 2003, someone tried to kidnap Heejin.
This is fucking nuts.
She was coming home from practice, and 4 men jumped out of a car and tried to like wrestle her into it, and she had to like fight them off and run away. And the agency didn't request police investigation because, quote, the damage wasn't that bad and we don't want to escalate any incidents.
That is the most ludicrous thing I've ever fucking heard.
I
like,
know.
it is so wild to me that they, like, someone straight up tried to kidnap her at all. Like, that's bananas. But that the agency wouldn't do anything. Like, we're not pressing charges. We're not investigating. We're not going to take extra precautions to make sure that those monsters don't try
come
this
back?
again. Like, they failed. Why would they not try this again?
Yeah.
Like, this is I don't get this.
So bananas.
I don't understand that at all. But the year ended with a few awards for them as well. They won 3 Bonsongs, which we've talked about, I think, like sporadically throughout our episodes, that like the Bonsong is usually like the grand prize of the award show. So they won a KMTV Bonsong, an SBS Gayo Bonsong, and a Seoul Music Award Bonsong.
So, March 18th, 2004, they release the album Ride West. And this album was a very big deal because it was a collaboration with the US label Bungalow Music that like represented like J-Lo and a bunch of other people. And it featured English versions and remixes of the first two singles. And the Korean wiki said that they were the first K-pop group to ever do an English version, but it was unsourced, and that feels like someone's got to have done at least, like, didn't Boa hadn't put out an English song before then? Like, I'm skeptical. But anyway.
Yeah, I don't know.
The album was supposed to debut in the US and everything. It was supposed to like be their big crossover moment.
Yeah, because they're now coming off of, they have achieved success in China and Thailand and Japan. So they're like, let's try the West now.
So they released a song called Ecstasy that is just capital Ecstasy. So the music video for this has a Fast and Furious concept.
Yeah.
Like, you know, bad boys cars or whatever. And the styling itself is like extra Western, like hoop earrings and like little fedora hats and like crop jackets and Ugg boots. And like, I don't know, they just look like US teens or whatever.
Yeah. And I don't know, it's very strange, I think, because the song itself is like very boring. Like it sound like the beep, 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 like of it is very of the time, but the melody doesn't go anywhere, and it almost seems to lack a melody in some parts. Like, you know you want me, baby. You want me, baby. And like they might as well not even be singing it. Like there's no actual like note to it. It's so bizarre. And so it's weird like knowing that this album was a collaboration with Bungalow Music. Like this is not exactly the kind of music that they had been making at the time. So like why? I don't know. I just like, I find it hard to believe, I guess, that someone would have heard this song and been like, yeah, this is going to be a hit. This is not.
The music video also cost 4 billion won to make because they had to fly in all of those cars they had to airlift cars from Hong Kong because like nobody had Fast and Furious cars for them to like film around.
Wow. That's
so
wild.
It like cost a ton of money.
But the song actually like features.
Yes, this is where it all falls apart.
We have a lot to say about what the features are, but just before we talk about everything, we got to know. It starts with a rapper named Floss P. Like he does like I think he has the first verse of the song, and then he like comes back, I think, at some point later in the song.
Maybe at the end.
But the middle of the song samples a whole Tupac rap. It's a freestyle verse that he recorded while he was in prison. And in the music video, they superimpose the video of Tupac doing this rap onto one of the cars. So it's like Baby V.O.X did not deserve the shit that they got for this Tupac inclusion, but I totally get why people were really mad about it. Like when I first was reading about it, I was like, okay, like they sampled him, and then I saw the music video and I was like, okay, yeah, that's fucked up. Like it's not cool.
Yeah. It's using dead people's stuff is always like already a strange thing.
But then also, it is. And then to like Tupac is a very like, he has, you know, a lot of meaning into his lyrics and is like very meaningful to a lot of people. And then to like put him in something that is so like commercialized, like it's something that is arguably antithetical to the kind of artist
it's
that
like
he was.
Meaningless.
Exactly. But we're gonna get into the details of the Tupac debacle. Let's talk about Floss P first.
Okay, so Floss P was at like every single music show stage. He like stayed with them for, I think I saw like 4 weeks sounds more right than 4 months. But he was like in Korea with them at every single performance. He got a different outfit. Like he was part of it.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting because sometimes when you get like a weird foreign feature, it's just like for the gimmick. But like he was in it.
He was really there
with them.
He promoted with them.
And yeah, the stages were also just like the really tiny shorts and the like butt shaking and the huge hoop earrings and like I don't know, they looked like a a kind of Baby V.O.X that they weren't.
That they had never been before. Yeah, for sure. It like definitely felt like a very different group. It was not, I think, a concept that meshed well with some of the things that they had already been doing. And like the, I think, extreme difference of them going to these like shorty shorts and like vest
just
tops
hoochie
and
mama
stuff.
outfits.
Yeah, and
like I don't know how else to
where
describe them.
like this was not the vibe. But let's talk about Tupac.
Let's talk about it.
Okay, so Amaru Records, this is a label that was or is in charge of a dedicated Tupac website called tupaclegacy.com. After this song came out, they posted an official statement on this website condemning the use of Tupac in the latest Baby V.O.X. And they claimed that it was, quote, an unlicensed and unauthorized exploitation of his music, trademarks, and personality rights. But DR Music claimed that they sampled Tupac legally at the suggestion of the US hip hop label Bungalow Music. So they claimed that they did not just steal this, that they had gotten the rights and that it was upon the suggestion of their US label mate. But people were not appeased, and specifically Lee Hanul of DJ Doc. This is a Korean rap group that was very popular, very well respected. He was super fucking mad.
Like
viciously
so mad.
He said, quote, "They use Tupac commercially. They need to get beaten up," referring to the women of Baby V.O.X. He started calling them Miari V.O.X., which is a region that at the one time had the largest brothel in the country. So he is like essentially calling them red light ladies, calling them prostitutes. And ultimately, like, his comments were so vicious that DR Music came back at him and ultimately sued him for libel, and they ended up in court. Lee Hanul had to apologize, and Baby V.O.X. got compensated for the vitriol that he spewed. But the damage was done.
Yeah,
like,
and he never let it go. Like,
no, he never let it go.
I saw quotes of like people being like, well, wasn't it really harsh that you called them prostitutes? And he was like, what else was I supposed to call them? Like, he was so fucking indignant about this. And I totally get being like, that was in bad taste. But like the way that this made him mad was just like so unreasonable.
Yeah, it was really, really uncalled for and like
misogynistic and weird.
and misogynistic and gross and like
shit like this.
Come on, man, you know that they're not the decision makers in this, and so to so viciously throw them under the bus was really gross. And he never showed any remorse for it, but he did significant damage to Baby V.O.X. And I'm gonna talk about it a little bit later when we get to like the end. But in addition to this major controversy that like he started and continued to stoke, the album, which is generally not a great success, it sold barely over 30,000 copies in South Korea, so one of their lowest by quite a lot.
But in order to try to pivot from this criticism and not make this album a total wash, they did release another song from the album, which was a remix of J-Lo's 2000 single Play. So it's called Play Remix, featuring J-Lo. Exactly the same vibe as the last music video. Though this time it seems like they're at the airport and they have less cool cars, but like they're trying to keep that same like party. Everyone has beers and is like break dancing in front of the headlights. And they're all dressed like J-Lo in 2000. Like
having a block party or something. But again, in a weird way that I think the other song, that Ecstasy was, it's like they took the melody out of this song. Yeah. Like the way that they so flatly sing like, planning to play that song, then I'm gonna turn me on, or whatever, like that actually has groove in the J-Lo song. Sure. And like in this one, it's like, I don't know, like someone with lethargy is covering it. Like I don't understand, I don't know how to explain the like lack of oomph that this song has. But it doesn't, unlike the way that Floss P and Tupac were like featured in the last song, J-Lo doesn't have like a verse in this, and they just
the J-Lo vocal,
the backing like, track of it or whatever. But yeah, so it quote unquote features her, but she's not a part of this in any way.
Yeah. Bungalow just said, you can have that.
Yeah, I guess because they were her label.
Funny
as
how
well.
they like got left at. Like, I feel like if you're gonna blame anyone for this, I feel like you go straight to Bungalow.
Oh,
Because they're
yeah.
the one who gave them the rights to all this
Uh-huh.
music, and we're like, this is fine.
Yeah, Bungalow
This
is
is a
the
great
one
idea.
that's bungling this up. But so the end of the year, they only took home one award this year from the Seoul Music Awards. They got the Hallyu Award for their international work.
December 27th, Eunjin is the first to officially leave the group, but I feel like she was already gone because there's only 4 people in those 2 like disgrace music
Yeah, this must just be
videos.
her like official departure or whatever. But then the members just start dropping like one by one pretty much.
And then they were like officially disbanded in 2006, but like their fans like still insist like they weren't disbanded. They just all had to stop. Like,
Yeah, I read something that was like the way that they discussed the disbandment, like even the V.O.X members had used, you know, the same kind of idol terms that they always do, like, we'll always be V.O.X or whatever. So like the fans were like, it's still open, like it's not an official disbandment, but it kind of was. And I saw an interview from April of this year, 2022, with the DR Music CEO, Yoon Dong. I can't ever say that syllable.
Yo,
I'm sorry.
I don't like it.
That guy. And he was discussing the disbandment of V.O.X. And he almost like fully blames DJ Doc for fucking them up. And he said, quote, Lee Han-il told a very vulgar story. I really wanted to kill him. V.O.X is a group of 5 girls and they cried every day. They didn't want to be on TV. The children were hurt a lot. I went to see him in person, but he ran away every time. Lee Han-il's remarks eventually became the decisive reason for V.O.X to disband. And he said that it was all in the past now, but even today, like he never got the chance to talk to him face to face about it, and he like regrets that. He's like, I have shit to say to you, man. So he blames Lee Han-il for their disbandment. And like you had mentioned, they had originally like hoped that Ride West would help launch their US debut, but the controversy tanked all his dreams.
Yeah, I can totally see, especially after like everything else that we discussed in this, like V.O.X spending like 8 years just being like viciously hated for everything that they did, like to then have like a fellow artist be like, yeah, you do fucking suck. Like that probably, I mean, I wouldn't want to do anything after that either.
Totally.
Like they had been like the constant hatred would absolutely get to you.
And I think it was also like especially disheartening because not only are they trying something new, but also this time the hatred is coming from another peer in the industry. Like, yeah, he's hip hop and you're K-pop, but he's still another like celebrity figure. And it's one thing when like fans are giving you shit because you can just be like, well, they're fans.
They're
like
kids,
for,
like,
yeah,
they don't
they're
know
kids, or
better.
they just like don't like me because they like this other group or because they think I'm dating or whatever the fuck. Like the fans, I think, have more, you know, you can take that less seriously in some ways. But then when like a fellow industry professional like drags you through the mud
And says like you should be physically harmed.
you should be
for this,
physically
like,
harmed,
thing
you
you've done.
hookers.
You
Like
whores.
what
Like,
the
ugh.
fuck? Like that's so. I can imagine why that would have been so much more devastating for them than any of the other shit that they had they had been through so far.
And also, interestingly, I think one of the fan wikis like posited that the early days of the hatred were like a really weird time because the internet was still so new that like the idols didn't actually see the vast majority of the shit that was being said about them. And the companies were also completely unaware of it because they didn't like see the value in or like recognize the internet as a thing. So like a lot of this hatred was like happening underground, where nowadays like if you tweet something shitty about an idol, you might get a cease and desist or like a threatening letter about it, because
China will sue the shit
they're
out of
real
you.
plugged in to what people are saying online
Yeah.
now. But at the time it was still too new and they didn't realize how like bad things were on the internet.
Yeah, that is really interesting. I also wonder if that has something to do with like not only is the internet new, but also K-pop was very new, and like the power of the fandom, I think, is something that the companies didn't fully know or understand or recognize. And so like now I think like idols and companies make a very concerted effort to be like in communication with the fans, or at least have like boots on the ground and know what the fans like or don't like or whatever. Sometimes that's to the detriment of groups and sometimes it's to the betterment. But yeah, like I think it was probably a really big, almost like untapped resource that they didn't even think about listening to what was the fan rumblings were. They were just like, we're just putting out music and dealing with the business side of it, and people will either like it or not. And now, yeah, like you said, they're very tuned in. But yeah. We did talk when we introduced the members about like where they are now, but let's just wrap it up. Remind ourselves. So they unofficially disbanded in 2006. Eunhye is arguably the most successful since the group. She left DR Music in 2005 and became an actress. She was a regular guest on X-Man, where she was beloved for her athleticism and chemistry with Kim Jong-kook, which we've definitely talked about on this podcast before. And she starred in a bunch of dramas, including Coffee Prince, which was huge. Heejin, she had 15 different drama appearances between 2010 and 2018, so she also pivoted to become an actress. And her most recent TV credit is an episode of Knowing Brothers from 2019. Eunjin released a solo album called Zinies to mediocre success and has not released anything since. Kim Easy, she went to college. She worked as an MC for Mnet, and she married a stockbroker in 2010 and had a baby with him in 2011. Mion went solo in 2006, 2 studio albums, one in South Korea and one in China, so she was still popular in China. She also has 2 South Korean EPs, and her 2011 single Paparazzi stayed in the top 7 on Inkigayo for 3 straight weeks, and the EP made it to the top 10 on Gaon, so that was her most popular. And they've had a couple of reunions in the last few years. In April of 2010, all of the ladies went to Easy's wedding and they sang Ya 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 at the wedding, which is cute. And then in August of that same year, 2010, they performed a medley of their greatest hits on the TV show Chocolate, which was the first time that they'd gotten together in 6 years. And then in November of 2018, 3 of the members appeared on a taxi talk show.
Yeah, remember that taxi talk show where the people would sit in the back of the taxi and the 2 like MCs sat in the front of the taxi and they'd just like drive around?
I don't
You
think
don't
I
remember
remember
this
that.
show?
That just makes me think of Cash Cab.
It was totally a show from like 2018 or something. I feel like we talked about it forever ago because there was an episode where So In-guk was on and they made him call Eunji and embarrass the shit out of him.
Yeah. Okay, yes.
So I watched this episode yesterday unsubbed and tried to, gather as much information as I could. And the clip that I saw, it was Easy, Eunjin, and Mion in the back. And the host was like, man, everybody really hated y'all. Like, was it really hard? Like being hated on? Like I remember there were rumors that Easy was a really mean leader. And she's like, I was not a mean leader. I was not mean. And they were like, you know who was mean? The maknae was mean. And they were like, really? And so they call her. They like FaceTime Eunhae. And then she like basically says that she just gave them a hard time because they were all older than her. Like she wasn't really a bully. It's like a lighthearted, she was the real bully of the group thing. And like it was just a cute little thing. And that was the most recent thing I could find of like them doing anything together.
But they seem to still keep in touch, which is really sweet.
Yeah. So that's the end of the story of Baby V.O.X for now.
Yeah, for now. Who knows? Maybe we'll speak them into existence and they'll come back tomorrow. We'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out.
But yeah, this was fun. I am happy to like know more about them now, and I think they definitely have some solid albums in there, even though I think I had gone into this like a little bit afraid that everything was going to be painful because the first couple stages are
really rough,
pretty bad. But they grow and they improve and they become pretty solid singers by the end of it. And the songs themselves like are pretty catchy for the most part. A couple of duds, but a few really, really good ones as well.
All right, we'll be right back to watch a whole Baby V.O.X music video. All right, we're back. And because I believe we've gotten them in the random game a long, long time ago, and I'm pretty sure we watched Ya Ya Ya, that's what feels right to me. And we've also watched a couple of these music videos or talked about them in our yearly deep dives. We're just going to watch the Get Up music video just because. It was popular enough.
Yeah.
It's fine.
And it was from their 3rd album, which is your favorite. So.
I do like it. So if you would like to watch Baby V.O.X Get Up with us, try to find it online. There are no official versions because this is way pre-YouTube. But I will say right now, shout out to Baby V.O.X Archive, the YouTube channel.
They had so
because for the
much.
20th anniversary, they put up all the commercials, all the stage mixes. Like they really 5 years ago, they gave us all our Baby V.O.X content. So shout out to them. They helped a lot in this episode.
Nice.
But yeah, if you want to watch this, find it. We're watching one that's called Get Up MVHD from BB Vox Lover. So press play when I say go. 3, 2, 1, go.
So yeah, here they are in this. Oh, it's not a counter. It is just tables and chairs, but like a booth or something, like a white restaurant. And a graffiti tunnel.
And they have Timbs and black jeans with chonky or not big black baggy pants.
Yeah,
with
big black
belts.
baggy pants and black crop tops with their chonky Timbs. A lot of this. Okay, well, her pigtails are bananas. This is the one where I was like, oh, I used to do that to my hair. But this one that has the 3 little. Hold on, I'll point her out again. She has a bird's nest in her hair.
Yes, and the long front bangs. It's also good.
I think, yes, this one. She's got 3 pigtails. Not just the 2, but she's got 1 right in the middle and then 2 on the sides. And that's a look.
There's so many uns and jins, and that is unjin, the one that has the 3. When I was watching it yesterday, I was doing the thing I do when I learn a group where I had all of their names on a Post-it on my screen so that I could quickly, try to put names to faces. Yeah. But they all have really similar, their names are all the same, just rearranged.
Yeah, similar syllables. Yeah. And I think it's funny that they all get the bicep tattoo. Everybody gets the armband.
Yeah, there was a lot of stages too where there was I wonder if it was some kind of logo of theirs or if they just ordered 1,000 of them at the same time, but it was a big X tattoo, almost like the triple X logo, and different members would have it on different stages. They gave them weird arm tattoos a lot.
Weird.
It's because
I feel like
Spice had one.
Yeah, it is. And I was gonna say I feel like Easy's the only one who pulls it off.
Yeah.
But hers also goes all the way around. The other girls, they just have the one Kim Easy clearly did I'm gonna use 3 of these and make sure it goes all the way around.
But some of the record store shots, I feel I remember clowning on them in the first gen episode of being sometimes they look like they don't know what to do.
Yes, they're just so uncomfortable in this yeah, like that. Just waving around.
See, I think that's JYP. I think all of the...
Take me tonight!
He's only credited as the lyricist, but I would not be surprised if it is him.
Wouldn't
because
be
he loves to
surprised
put
either.
himself
Yeah.
in songs that he wrote.
And he thinks he's a very good singer. So. All right, that was Baby V.O.X.
That was Baby V.O.X.
We
I
did
have
it.
just a couple of recommendations to leave
Great.
you with.
Love it.
I would like to recommend the fan song To Angel from the Boyish album. It is just a beautiful R&B ballad. It has a really nice melody. Really liked it. I similarly really enjoyed the song Lux from the Y album for similar reasons. It just right when it came on, I was like, oh yes, this is a good song. Because some of the, a lot of the times with these first gen songs, it's a moment of it is good.
Yeah.
Or the song weirdly grows on you because it's stuck in your head. But when a song immediately was oh, this is a good song, I wrote it down. So those are my 2 Baby V.O.X recommendations. And also, There's a Brave Girls cover of Get Up from 2017 where they do it exactly like Baby V.O.X and are trying, they like put their hair crazy ways and like, you know, do
Doing
a
like
full
a tribute
stage.
stage.
But also Wiki Miki did a version like in 2018 or 2019, and theirs is fully remixed. It is a different song. They did different choreo, like they reimagined.
But
Get
it's
Up.
really fun. It's really fun.
And I also, my girl Chunga did my favorite Baby V.O.X song, Killer, on Immortal Songs. And so I love that.
I think
taste.
she does Killer and something else.
I think into Get Up. I think Get Up is like the one that always
it might have been.
becomes
It might have
the
been.
song.
But yeah, her Immortal Songs performance is a medley. Like but it starts with Killer for sure.
So I appreciate
I
that.
also found a Twice cover
Ooh.
of Yeah Yeah Yeah.
Nice.
Which is now I have to look up what year it was from because they look
Like
like
babies?
babies. And I was like, oh my God, I couldn't believe it, baby. Oh, they're so small. It's from 2015. And they look
Aw,
so
that would be so small.
Yeah, Jonghyun has like her short little bowl cut.
Yeah.
And they look precious and they're wearing, that's not one of my favorites Baby V.O.X songs, but it's like a very popular one because it's so bubblegummy. It like fit with Twice's vibe for the time. And they wear Baby V.O.X. We didn't talk about this in the timeline, but there were like a couple stages where Baby V.O.X wore what I can only describe as like Valentine's Day Santa costumes.
Oh,
because
yeah,
they had like
those.
pink outfits and like matching like tops and like sets, but the pink outfits had like
Fur lining.
like white fur like all over the cuffs and the necks and the details or whatever, and that's what Twice wears.
Okay, great.
They wear the white fuzzy, the pink and white fuzzies, and they look adorable. I think it's a Christmas stage, like there's like Christmas trees in the background or whatever. But yeah, so some newer gen girl groups paying some tribute to Baby V.O.X. Their legacy continues, even if it's not quite as well known as SES's or Finkel's. They still made quite an impact.
They definitely like did. And like I saw that when Sistar first debuted, people were like, Baby V.O.X is reborn. Like because they were the only ones like doing this kind of like sexy concept in the first gen, and like people saw like a through line to Sistar somehow. And yeah, that they were the first. It's just so interesting that they don't get like remembered as fondly, but like they were first.
Yeah, and it is interesting too. I wonder how much of that has to do with A, the hatred that they got their whole career, and B, the size of their company.
Yeah.
Like, because, you know, SES is from SM, and I don't remember where Finkel's from. But, like, I wonder if
But
that
Hyori was in
factors.
Finkel.
Yeah.
So
And-
she then became more famous than the whole group,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
like
yeah.
will keep you enduring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Interesting. But it was really fun to look into all of this. Like a lot of these songs are really, really fun. And I just love like looking at and watching first gen stuff because it's like quaint and cheesy and terrible, but also really fascinating. And it makes me nostalgic. And I just like it. So it was fun to learn about Baby V.O.X. Happy 25 years to them.
Happy 25 years, ladies. I hope you got together and had a drink together.
Yeah, I hope so. But that is it for this week. If you would like to get in contact with us, we can be found at AMAKPopPod on Twitter and Instagram, AMAKPoppod@gmail.com for emails, 181-AMAKPop5 for texts or voicemails, P.O. Box 26096, Los Angeles, California 90026 for regular old snail mail. Linktree/AMAKPop will take you to YouTube, Spotify, Discord, all of those places. You can also join our Patreon, patreon.com/AMAKPopPod. Little bit of money, you get a lot of bonus episodes. And that's all the places. And
so.
we'll be back next week with something fun. See you then. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Jonghyun, you're our inspiration.